All right, we're back. I'm your host, Larry Haynes, and we are talking with Terri Temmcke about legislation and legislative craziness and just all kinds of weird political things going on up in the Hill and up in Baton Rouge. So, Terri, let's get right back into it.
Okay, well, I think that's all the bad news on the CLEAR Act. I would encourage people to please contact their senators and tell them this is not good for us, and to absolutely vote no on this. And not only, I think here in Louisiana, I know Senator Bitter's opposed to this. Mary Landrieu has been opposed to large portions of this, but to get the word out to the rest of the country. You know, This is a bill that's going to impact every state in the United States. So if you've got relatives in Pennsylvania, email them, call them, tell them this is not a good thing.
Right. I think what we need to do, I'll tell you what, offline, I need to talk to you after the show. We'll put together a little summary sheet, and then I'll blog about that on teapartybloggers.com.
Okay.
And then we can have people link to that and hopefully get it out, via viral, like, can you believe this kind of stuff. So
more good news out of Washington.
Exactly.
Yeah. I
want to do a quick commercial announcement. You had mentioned something just a second ago. About Mary Landrieu. When folks, when they vote with us and they do what we consider the right thing, we got to let them know that we support them. So it's not just David Vitter and so forth, but tell people that are voting with you so that they can understand and kind of reinforce the way they should be voting.
Exactly.
But we need to go tomorrow down to the Greater New Orleans Tea Party is having an event down at the corners of Veterans and Causeway at 10 o'clock. It's not a political rally as much as it's a get out the vote rally. Suggested signs to bring are votesmart.org, visit gnotp.com, get the facts before you vote. Early voting starts August 14th, primary vote day, August 28th. So these are the kind of signs you need to bring to let people know that they should be registering, they should be voting in these primaries, and then they should be registered, obviously, for the November election as well. So we definitely want to support that. Greater New Orleans Tea Party .com, if you gnotp.com, gnotp.com, if you want to go find out anything more about this rally.
And if you join gnotp.com, you can get a lot of this information that'll be sent out in emails about as I do the research on these bills too.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to do that.
And you don't have to do this yourself.
Yeah, no, and nobody really could, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but very few people have the time that you do to do the research. And tell us a little bit about that. How do you actually do? You're on the computer or whatever. You told me something the other day that you spent 4 hours looking for something and still couldn't find it. So this is not an easy task, is it?
No, it's not. And they like to hide it from you. It's always good. I won't write anything without a bill number. And I'm telling you, they don't like to give that to you. The newspapers don't give it to you. You don't hear it on the news, even Fox News, even the congressional websites. I have to say Steve Scalise's site's pretty good about giving you the bill number. But and as an example, this CLEAR Act that we've just been talking about, there actually is another CLEAR Act that has to do with immigration, which would be a positive thing. Unfortunately, it's a Republican bill that doesn't seem to be moving and is essentially dead. So, when you talk to your representatives about these bills, it's always good to know exactly what you're talking about. So I probably go through 20, 30 resources a day, just looking both sides, conservative sites and I look at the New York Times and the Washington Post and those sort of things, too, to try to piece it all together and get an accurate picture of what these bills are about.
Right, and that's one of the things that I've noticed about your emails is they're pretty straightforward and not a lot of fluff and hype and that sort of thing, and that's something I appreciate. So that resource is available to you, too, folks. If you join up at gnotp.com, Terri will be sending you these out if you would. So they can opt into that, right? I mean, they're not going to be force-fed this stuff if they don't want it.
Right, yeah, then go to their profile page and opt to get those. So.
Yep. I'm looking at we passed this health care bill and everybody thought it's good. And, 85% of the people, didn't really need health care. And, I think they ended up saying about 30 million people, which is about 10% of our population actually did. And I did some research. So I want to make this available to anybody that wants it. Just email me at larry@teapartybloggers.com. What it is a 17 by 21 inch, but it's in a PDF file. But if you print it out, it's a 17 by 21 inch full color chart of how many different aspects of the health care bill there are, from the President, Secretary of Health and Human Services, and this speaks volumes, folks. Let me just give you a real quick overview of what's on this chart. It says, let's see, it shows that the healthcare system is complex, yes, but also ornate. The new law creates 68 grant programs, 47 bureaucratic entities, 29 demonstration or pilot programs, 6 regulatory systems, 6 compliance standards, and 2 entitlements. And it's getting that massive enterprise up and running will be next to impossible. So guess what they did? The Democrats streamlined the process by granting the Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius the authority to make judgments that cannot be challenged, either administratively or through the courts. Think about that, folks. You cannot challenge her judgments, even through a court. Now, what does that tell you that our federal government's doing to us? They are in a biggest power grab.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, if you have this chart, this was developed by Kevin Brady over in Texas by his staff and put online. If you'll email me, larry@teapartybloggers.com, I'll just basically email it back to you. And you will look at this, and you can show this to all your friends and neighbors and go, see, it's not quite what we really wanted. And that's the kind of thing that Terri's doing, is researching these different bills and the impact of them, hopefully before they pass, like the healthcare legislation. So, Terri, what else you got for us?
Well, one more lovely act, the Disclose Act, which is Senate Bill 3295. This is essentially, I think, attack on our free speech, and it has to do with elections. Its real name is the Democracy is Strengthened by Casting Light on Spending in Elections Act. And essentially what this is recreating the whole system that was just found unconstitutional by the Supreme Court back in January, the Citizens United case, which said that you cannot discriminate against certain groups of people in the way they donate or contribute to campaigns. It should be balanced. Everybody has the same rights. That's
right.
What the fundamental right in this.
What a concept!
Country.
Free speech, huh?
Right, free speech. So essentially, what this does is set up different rules for unions, the mainstream media, and a few specialty groups like the NRA and the Sierra Club. They have their own rules, and then the rest of us have very strict, stringent rules. The unions, the media, a few clubs are exempt. What these are strict financial requirements that burden mostly small businesses, grassroots organizations, groups that are traditionally more conservative than, say, the unions would be. If you make donations and don't follow these new rules and regulations put out by the FEC, the Federal Elections Commission, not only do you have huge fines, they can send you to jail.
You know, that same thing happened, and I couldn't believe it until Angela last week showed me about the education, about showing the LEAP test, and she showed it to me in writing, where there was a $250,000 fine or up to 5 years in jail if you disclose the LEAP test.
Absolutely.
And it's like, this is only from 3rd through 8th grade, so why would you want to hide 2 + 2 = 4,
exactly.
or 6 × 6 = 36, or whatever the case might be? It's ridiculous. And this, I'm
more and more about government control and intimidation and controlling our behavior. And this goes so far. This is an invasion of privacy, I think, because part of the requirements are, if you make a contribution over a certain amount to, say you're a group, say you're maybe a Tea Party group, and well, that's not a good example. Say you're a company and you make a donation to a candidate. You have to send the FEC the names of everybody in your organization, the names and addresses. If you're a group you have an online website and you You don't even have to contribute if you in some way endorse a candidate with an ad or something like that. They require you to send your homepage to the Election Commission, a link to your homepage so they can access your group. Then you have to send them the names of all of your members. You have to send them the names of your largest contributors, even if they didn't contribute to this specific campaign or ad or whatever.
Well, maybe we should just all go on the government dole, and then we can just name the U.S. federal government as our supporter.
Exactly.
All right. Well.
Okay. So that's all my good news.
Well, no, hang on a minute, because I want to take you through the break, and we're going to talk about some of the local things you've been working on, just kind of a summary thing, and then we'll wrap it up. So anybody with questions, 556-9696, and we are talking with Terri Temmcke, and she has just given us all kinds of good news today about what our federal and state governments are doing. So, all right, we will be back shortly.